Hello, Aries. How are you? Today is November 30th. We are entering into last month of the year. Mercury went direct yesterday, thank God, because this has been an absolutely insane Mercury retrograde. Venus goes into Sagittarius today, and there is a Gemini full moon this week. Other than that, it is a relatively quiet week as far as aspects are concerned, giving us time to sort of absorb what's happened. Oy, the cards flying everywhere. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get into the energy for the week. I also want to do a reading this week of just like my take on the point of tarot, because I sometimes get comments and stuff about like readers being right or wrong or knowing things or being able to predict things or you know, like that somehow this is a concrete, I don't want to say concrete science, but that this somehow is like a fortune telling thing. That is not at all the point of tarot. And so I thought I would sort of explain why I use this, how I use it, what I think it's for, etc., and how I kind of approach my readings, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the energy of the week. Okay, there we go. It's been jumping around. Success, very nice. And there's that little black jaguar there hiding right in the foreground. I'm still having to use this other phone because I haven't cleared off the other one. Let me go ahead and read this to you. That is not the right deck, is it? Yes. So I'm feeling like a little sick today, but it's neither here nor there. It's like, Anyway, satisfaction, contentment, and fulfillment are at hand. Success is waiting to expand in your life. Be ready to accept and embrace this success, for it might occur rapidly. All is possible. The gates of triumph are waiting to open. Being in a state of gratitude for all the small successes in your life will give birth to larger ones. Your satisfaction will come in many forms and from many areas of life. Celebrate it all and breathe it all in, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. This is an excellent time to make commitments, sign contracts, and make deals. Good fortune will ensue. Right? Like, especially with these cards and stuff like that, you know, when they say like love or success, it doesn't mean necessarily that suddenly, you know, you're going to find out that you have a long lost relative who has billions and they don't know who to leave it to. It can also just be small things, right? You make a cake for your colleagues and they are so appreciative, and that makes you feel happy and proud, right? It's an energy that's coming to you, an energy that's available, an energy that's around you. And so there is a feeling of success, an energy of success that is available in the upcoming days. Now, this could be interesting, could tie to that Gemini full moon, you know, which is third house, maybe some communication or communication projects or some sort of communication of a job well done or of something well done. Success can also be, you know, finding out that someone isn't right for you or getting turned down from a toxic job. It doesn't always go in a linear way. Let's get the challenge for the week. Okay. This is the Queen of Cups, receptivity. And that's interesting because this card made a very specific, concerted effort to talk about small wins, right? To not overlook the tiny wins, because like attracts like. Where you focus your attention expands. And so if you see the small wins, you start to see the bigger wins. But if your attention and vision and energy is focused on, I'm just waiting for the long lost relative who I don't know to betroth me with billions of dollars, well then yeah, the rest of the day is going to feel like a huge failure. And so here, this idea of receptivity, being open to receiving the messages, the energy that the universe is sending you. Let's get the lesson. So as these two cards are saying, that it's important to be open to see and receive success, or to view something as a success, to view something with satisfaction, to being open to being satisfied. Kind of like take the small wins right now. All right, let's get the lesson. Okay, facade. Now, if I recall correctly, I don't usually read these, but I want to read this one, which means that I'm going to leave you alone for a second while I go get the book. Right? Because of course it's in the other room. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I think I could have paused that, but I always end up messing it up when I do that. Okay, facade. Now this is third chakra energy. So this is communications. And it says, the bronze boy Darnell was young when his father died, and he became the man of the family. Interesting that I mentioned someone dying, right? Out for a walk one day, many years later, he was mesmerized by the sight of children playing. As a child, he'd never played, and he hid behind a tree, crying bitterly, then quickly buried his emotions. At the very end of his life, on his way to heaven, he stopped at the park and finally reclaimed the inner child he had left behind many years before. Okay, so it says here, if you are unhappy in your relationships, you may be relating to others through a false sense of duty. Give up on being something you're not. The bronze god is about reclaiming life. It says in order to do that, you have to heal childhood pain. And some of the key ideas here are disassociating from yourself, reclaiming your life, healing childhood pain through recovery, integration, and play. Now, this is quite interesting, actually, and I kind of just want to share like a personal experience that I had. As I think you remember last year, I was very much about Taylor Swift, right? Like I was talking a lot about Taylor Swift. And I got made fun because I'm almost 52. And so I was essentially a 50-year-old woman getting very excited about going to Taylor Swift concerts, right? Or like making friendship bracelets, or being able to dress up in glitter and dance and sing. And of course, this attracted the ire of many strangers, but also other people were like, oh, aren't you embarrassed, right? Or does that seem the way that a woman of your age should behave? And the truth is that because I grew up in such a volatile family where I was very early charged with being the only sane one in the room, and I've been working to provide for myself since I was about 15 years old, that sort of frivolous, girly, mindless dance around the living room in glitter heels was not part of my experience. And so doing it now as an adult allowed me to tap into a wound that I didn't even know that I had, to be honest. I mean, when they talk about, I've been in therapy, not right now, but I went for many years. And there was lots of like coming to an understanding of what the problem was, but still not fixing the energy, right? Like I knew what the problem was, but it was still there. And that somehow participating in the lightness of Taylor Swift, the sisterhood of like singing with 90,000 other people about heartbreak or about whatever, allowed me to expunge so many of these wounds that now I actually feel like I'm a very different woman, different person than I was a summer ago. And what that healed, allowing me to be light, frivolous, and girly and whatever, now allows me to show up in a very different way in my own relationships, right? Because there isn't this hidden wound screaming out for attention. So, I think this is, as we're talking about small wins and success and what life looks like, right? Is that at the end of the day, as I get older, the thing I really start to put together is that, yes, the first part of life was all about like achievement. And then when you start to get to a point that actually really none of it matters, it's the little things, right? that start to become more important. So yesterday I made, for a belated Thanksgiving, a cheesecake that didn't crack, and that like made my day. Now, would you say that was a success? Can I monetize it? No. Is it going to impact the rest of my life? Probably not. But was I proud and like excited and able to appreciate that for what it was without there having to be some sort of psychological coloring around it? Even if it did crack, right? Would I then have been like, oh, you're such a bad person? See, if you were good at these things wouldn't happen, which is inner child dialogue, right? That's where we punish ourselves for the lack of perfection. And so I feel like these cards are really for the pathological perfectionists out there who don't allow space for small wins, who do think that there's a giant measuring tape, and unless it's 100, it's no good. And really, even the 1 is good if you're able to see and heal from the process that brought you to have to work so hard to feel good, right? Does that make sense? That ultimately there's a lot of, in pathological perfectionism, there is a lot of, I have to work hard to get love. I have to work hard to get respect. If I am not this way, then I am not good. People will not like me, et cetera, et cetera. And so then we don't see the small wins. we can only focus on the big ones. And what this is saying is to allow yourself the space and the room to see and heal from what happened, or that's causing you to not be able to enjoy the little things in life. All right, let's get some cards here. Right, it's a burden. This thing that you've been carrying around for so long, that you're not able to see what's actually really going around, because you're in a battle with yourself. Or other people's expectations. Okay, Six of Swords. Putting things down, moving on. This is very much about that child healing, because, we don't see them, but and it feels like a loss, right? That's what I said. Sometimes things are successes, but we will perceive them as not, because they don't fall into the stereotypical, like what it looks like. But being able to move away from a very difficult time, a lot of work, something that you've been struggling with, even though it's quiet and peaceful, it's still a success, right? Because you've put them down, whatever it is. You've released yourself from something that's been, of course, they're going to block this. Let me cover them up. You are releasing yourself from some sort of psychological chain, and that's not nothing. It's huge, actually. And so what this reading is really all about is being able to free yourself from some sort of limiting belief that's been in your subconscious for so long that you've just accepted it as part of you. Okay, so we have the Nine of Cups here with the Page of Cups, or excuse me, the Page of Pentacles underneath. Yeah, being satisfied about the little things. Yeah, sure, it's a pentacle, but it's more than no pentacles, right? And so really being able to be satisfied, to find the satisfaction in the little things. And even if it's just a small step that you took, right? Or it's a small thing that happened. It's something you walked away from, or it's a realization you allowed yourself. Or you freed yourself from some kind of thinking, or you finally just gave up on a situation that was causing you a tremendous amount of energy. These are huge wins, right? The whole Japanese concept of Kaizen, and I've talked about this before, that it just takes 1% of change to put you on a completely different path in the long term. And that very rarely does success and change and evolution happen in a big grand gesture. Success is very rarely a windfall, right? Unless you win the lottery, which doesn't happen very often. It is about tiny win, tiny win, tiny win. But if you're not clocking the tiny wins and you're only waiting for the lottery, then everything else is going to feel like a failure. And that's this. And so it's a shift of breaking free from that kind of thinking, or the thinking that like everything should be better. And really, especially this week of Thanksgiving, what can I be thankful for now? right? Yes. Is life right now an absolute shit show? Completely. We are living in what is probably going to be studied in history books as an incredibly radical moment of transformation. There are so many aspects that point to revolution. That's not a comfortable energy to exist within, right? And it's funny because my boss loves the idea of getting a monthly horoscope from me, but he only likes the idea of getting a good horoscope from me. And I said, we're living with 20 years of Pluto and Aquarius. How could that be comfortable? It's a revolution. It's the French Revolution, the American Revolution. We have Neptune in Aries. That is another revolution. Saturn in Aries, Uranus in Gemini. These are very, very trying times. There is a lot to feel unsuccessful about, which is why it's also going to be very important that you're willing to take the win on the cheesecake with no cracks. Okay. All right, we have two cards. First is Ishtar, communion, and the second, Aphrodite and romantic love. Now, while I was shuffling, the love card came out again. And it's a 2, so some kind of, and it talked about this, like not being able to be in relationship if there's a concept, such a heavy concept of duty involved in that. Meaning, like, why am I working so hard to keep somebody's love? So let me go ahead. I'm going to read this one first. Okay. Your intimate relationship with the invisible world is being called upon right now as you enter unfamiliar environments and situations, right? I just talked about that. It's time to commune with the great goddess, the aspect of the conscious universe in her most collaborative form. The world then becomes your oracle as it opens up and communicates everything you need in the form of signs, omens, and messages. Now is the time to pay attention to synchronicities, right? Look for the tiny things right now, because those are the ones that matter. And those moments when logic and reason fail to give you the full picture. The Mesopotamian goddess Ishtar reminds you of the time in her ancient temples when her priestesses served as oracles, communing with the goddess and imparting wisdom to the people who sought guidance. That is the longest sentence ever. Look at everything in your life as an opportunity for communion, losing the need for self-centeredness, connecting to source in a sacred, intimate way. And so this is very much about establishing a relationship with the divine, right? That once you have that sort of detachment about, like I said, the older I get, the more I realize that really none of this matters. And so you have a different relationship and you give things a different weight in terms of how important they are, right? Like once upon a time, it was incredibly important for me to have lots and lots and lots of friends. That's not the case anymore because now I know like what's more meaningful to me. Once upon a time, I was terrified of people like were mad at me or didn't like me or, just didn't enjoy being around me. Now, like, hey, you do you. You don't have to like me. I'm sure I can be very unlikable to certain people. Okay, so you will not pray on your knees as a supplicant. You engage the great goddess as a partner in co-creation, participating in the making of worlds. No one needs to rescue you when you act empowered, aware, and awake to the wondrous miracle you're a part of. I remember I saw this interview once. I don't remember who it was. It was a comedian. I don't remember who it was. He was on one of the chat shows and he was saying that people were complaining about the Wi-Fi being out, right? Like, and they were so angry that the Wi-Fi in the plane was out. And he was like, you are currently sitting in a miracle of human intelligence and brilliance in a metal tin can flying through the air to be able to explore worlds. And what you're upset about is that the Wi-Fi doesn't work, right? Like, that's what I mean about successes. Like, think about how incredible it is that you are flying, not that the Wi-Fi's out. So it's kind of like, don't take anything for granted right now. Let's do number 2 here. Okay, the Greek goddess of romantic love, Aphrodite, represents a state of ecstatic being that she now invites you to cultivate within. So that means become love within yourself. Do not seek it outside of you. You can experience the world as a sensual, expressive, creative being if you allow yourself the freedom to explore what this means to you. Perhaps this is a portent of a new partnering or a deepening of the one you already have. Or perhaps it's a time for you to claim this aspect of your nature, which may have lain dormant a while. Aphrodite invites you to fall in love with your life right now and choose to look for the essence and expression of love all around you. By doing so, love will increase tenfold, and you will see evidence of it everywhere you turn. This is your sacred task when Aphrodite chooses to aid and empower you. So this is, I wish I could find, maybe I'll try and post it on the board. This is a warning of feeding in too much to the dissatisfaction cycle, right? And there's an actual scientific model of it, that the higher you set your expectations for something, the greater the chances are that you will be disappointed. Because it's what I've been saying at the beginning, right? Like, if the only thing you consider success is a long lost uncle calling with billions for you, then the rest of your life is going to feel like a failure. If you're like, you know what, every day right now especially is hard to get through, I'm really fucking excited that this cheesecake came out great. And that's going to be enough for me right now. And then once that is enough for you, you start to find an inner peace or an inner contentment where you drop your expectations for yourself, for your life, for what happens to you, and you're able to actually enjoy it more because you lower the distance of disappointment. I will post that to the community thing once. It's a scientific model. It's very interesting. Okay, hope this was helpful. Ended up being really long. And I wish you the best and a very enjoyable life this week. Okay, see you next time.